Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Metal Rockwell again this morning for Southern Ghost Productions, and somewhat of a simple video today. And yeah, I just want to keep a pattern of posting videos, whether I have renegade ideas or not. Basically, just as something I like to talk about, just for the sake of talking about it. Anyway, today I got a beat lined up, and it's in the spirit of sampling breaks, but basically I'm not sampling breaks. But I'm writing beats that sound like they've been sampled from records, and I love the break sound so much. I mean, when I was younger, and music was very verse chorus, pop music, and it was probably 5 styles, and the radio dominated 2 styles, and the rest was just like unheard of to the masses. But during that time in my generation, when we heard a track that basically didn't like probably the lyrics, the content, the melody, but there'd be a break in it, and that break sounded like just craziness. It sounded like let's do it, let's take it on. The drums, like you had all the power of the drum, and it was just sporadic, and you could do anything. And that spirit of the break has crossed over into my beat creating. Even if I'm not sampling breaks from records, I still like making beats that sound like they've been sampled from records. So kind of coming from the other direction that I did with the Art of Break post. The Art of Breaks, that post and that mix was basically original 100% breaks from vinyl that I've collected throughout the years and wanted to mega mix them together so you could hear just the breakdowns of each beat. And I'll try to talk about these techniques without using too much of the field's jargon. I'm sure it's going to come out a lot. It's just I'm used to hanging around people that know what I'm talking about when I say certain words. But basically, today's video is about what you find on records, the break of a song where it's just drums and you break down the groove. It might have a little bit of the instruments in them, like a piano, guitar, but it's not, the melody is not dominant. It's really there to color the atmosphere for the drums to get loose. So instead of sampling the break, I'm gonna write the break that sound like it's been sampled. So basically I got some drum hits from a live kit. I used my piano and my bass and made a simple break out of it. And I'm using Cubase 5's vintage compressor and Cubase 5's maximize. The reason why I'm using all Cubase 5 plugins instead of exploring or getting some of my old trusty VSTs that I've used throughout the years is I really want to learn Cubase 5's system and their sonics and algorithms. I've been told that if you stay with the same company's plugin or the algorithms match between the compressor and the maximizer, in this case the mathematical part of the plugin is written in the same way, so it should develop a better sound that's more, both plugins understand each other a little bit better, if that makes any sense. So I'm going to stay with the internal plugs that come with Cubase, and I'm learning them, and they're very simple, so I don't have as much controls as I say I would over the solid state, virtual solid states, or the virtual Nev plugins that I have, which give me a lot more options for compressing and maximizing and basically finalizing the mix. But so yeah, you heard what I said. I'm trying to learn what I got here for today. And also I did a little bit of over compression, a little push and pull to the drums, which is very popular, especially in the mid to late 70s, with a lot of funk, experimental, like I guess for fusion, rock, jazz. And it was just when those probably late 70s, early 80s, they had some really interesting compressing techniques going on. So I'm trying to emulate that. And so without further ado, if I didn't confuse you all enough, maybe I'll just hit play on the beat so you can see what I'm talking about here. Reconstructing the break without sampling breaks. And as you can hear, that's pretty much what it does. That's what a break is. You know, they don't go too far with it. It's just the bass groove that a lot of hip hop, and actually today all styles of music use breaks. I mean, it's everything. Country music samples from break catalogs now, so they'll use some famous hip hop drums and country tunes today. So the technique itself has crossed over to all genres of music, and it's no longer just bound to the field of hip hop. And if you think about it, the breaks that were sampling, you know, went from hip hop records. So they, you know, this is how people used to juice their drums before, you know, in the 80s. Before the 80s, people used to really juice their drums in the 70s. So we got back into that, you know, in the early 90s. A lot of people wanted to get that 70s sound again, and I think there's a lot of reasons why. You know, the analog styles of finalizing and mastering really colored the audio. It really brought a lot to the listener in their room. Really brought a lot out of the drums and made drums have a little bit more tonality to them. The sustain, the hit carried a little longer. The breath of the rhythm, you felt more of a rhythmatic pressure, let's just say, in the rhythm itself. And also, I'm a big fan of Vadim. So I kind of like listened to some of the breaks he sampled to get my idea of how I wanted this break to sound. And so yeah, I listened to some of his stuff and kind of like, I like the way that one sounded. So let me see if I can recreate a break without sampling close to that. And so there it is. Turn it up one more time. Yeah. And those are the breaks.